Angels in America, sit down. The Inheritance, go home. Wolf Hall, who even are you? Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, don't even speak to me. You have heard of two-part plays. Today, this very day in London, right now, I am going to that theatre behind me at Soho Place to see a three-part play. Technically, three separate plays that do not have to be watched back to back. However, they do form a cohesive trilogy called Death of England, parts 1, 2, and 3. They are being produced in Rep this summer here at Soho Place in the West End, and I am seeing them back to back today. There are a few days this summer where it's possible to see all three in one day. I've seen part 1 before, I've never seen the other two. I'm very excited. Join me for a 3-show day that's all the same show. Here it is, our venue for the day. This is at Soho Place. Yes, that is its actual name, with an at on the front and everything. This is relatively recent. This is the West End's newest theatre. Its highest profile tenant thus far has been the musical The Little Big Things, that was staged here in no small part due to the fact that the venue and the playing space are completely accessible, both for audience members and performers, which is very important because when we're building new theatres, of course, that is something to take into account. It also recently hosted the West End return of Heathers, and now between the 15th of July and the 28th of September, so you still have a little bit of time to catch it, Death of England, the plays. Oh my god, hey, by the way, my name is Mickey Joe. I am obsessed with all things theatre. I am a content creator here on social media. I'm also an independent theatre critic and pundit, and I have been very excited about this. So I saw the original Death of England. I don't know if the intention was for it to become a trilogy or if it was just a standalone piece at that point. I saw it back pre-pandemic, I think just pre-pandemic, maybe the beginning of 2020. I'm going to have to look that up, but I saw it at the National Theatre's Dorfman space, and it was very impactful. It talks a lot about racism and the state of the nation and Brexit and politics, and also like the impact between generations and like the working class. A lot of things I am very invested in, and topics which I think are incredibly timely to talk about on stage. Perhaps even more so now than when this was first being produced. Now, all three of these plays have been seen separately before at the National Theatre. They also made a video during lockdown that falls somewhere between this trilogy. Maybe we will watch that today at some point on our journey. But essentially what's happening today is I'm seeing 3 one-act plays. The first is at 1 o'clock, the middle one is something like 4:30, I think, and then the last one is at 8 p.m. I have no intervals, but I have gaps in between each one, and we're going to get used to these surroundings because we're going to be hanging out in this general area all day. I am nearby to Tottenham Court Road train station, which incidentally is the underground station that you want to use if you are visiting at Soho Place. It's very nearby, and it's about 15 minutes to the show, so we're going to head inside now, and I will show you at Soho Place and the first part of Death of England. This is the inside of at Soho Place. They have this whole constellation motif. Oh, it's me! My birthday is in 1 week. Oh my gosh, and that is my star sign. There you go. But this is a nice little seating area that you can hang out with, adjacent to a bar there, so you can chill here before a show. It used to be a restaurant, sadly no longer, but you can relax here, and I expect we will at some point during this marathon theatre day. Up to the first level, because there is no access to the theatre on the ground floor, but there are accessible lifts on your right as you enter the building. This gives you information here about the first piece that we are watching, Death of England, Michael, which is part 1. This is the only one that I've seen before. It stars Thomas Coombs as Michael. The first 2 are one-person pieces, although they refer to the other characters in them. There is overlap between, and the last one, the third part, is a 2-person performance. We have a helpful little indication here of where you can find bars and different kinds of toilets. And there are accessible toilets on every floor. And we are currently on level 1, which is where you will find the stalls section of the auditorium. Also offers us quite a nice view over, is this Charing Cross Road? I believe it is. Down over that way would be the Dominion Theatre, and if we head down further this way, we would get to the Palace Theatre and the Phoenix Theatre. And this is the auditorium. This is the setup for the first show. I haven't seen many images from this, so I don't know if the staging is the same for each piece or if it's different. We have little columns. This is familiar, this big red cross, obviously iconic England iconography from the whole St. George's flag, I believe is what it's properly called. It's the English flag. No. It's giving funeral. And this is what At Soho Place looks like. So it can have different theatrical configurations. Right now it's set up to be in the round. It can be changed to have more of an end-on thrust configuration, like when Heather's came here. But everything else I have ever seen here, and I didn't see Heather's, has always been in the round. And I have sat just about on every different side of the stalls. I've never sat in one of these higher levels, but I'm told the view is good from every single seat and there is legroom. Again, these were considerations that were made when they were building a theatre for a modern audience. But this is going to be my view. I am in D44. I entered via door A because it told me to on my ticket. And we can see one other prop over there, the little flower wreath. I told you it was giving funeral. I told you we were talking about generations here. And I will tell you more right after I've seen this first play. Bear with me for a few moments while I see some theatre. I'll be right back with you. One play down, I have seen Death of England, Michael, that one, much for us to discuss, very much for us to discuss. At Soho Place, I have never had a bad view, an uncomfortable viewing experience in At Soho Place. If this is the first you are seeing of this theatre, if you have not visited this theatre, can recommend. They've really done a fantastic job. I have a programme, because I got sent a programme voucher along with my tickets, which can be redeemed if anyone else pre-buys a programme. If you happen to, that gets redeemed at the bar spaces. Now, what was interesting to me as I left was there were people talking about and comparing it to Delroy, which is part 2. And I will report back to you throughout the day if I think you need to see them in order, if the first one contextualizes the second, because we've already been introduced to 2 of the remaining 3 characters that we will meet throughout the rest of the day's performances. We have definitely been introduced to Delroy and, well, I assume one of the characters who appears in the last play, although I don't actually know. So what that one was from the perspective of Michael, who is reckoning with the death of his father, who passed away from a heart condition during a peak of passion in response to a devastating sporting loss with the Euros final in 2021. This must have been updated because I'm sure I originally saw the play prior to that. It's been updated anyway because it makes reference to a lot of political events. It's a State of the Nation play, so that's the name of the game. It has to continue being updated so that it is bitingly relevant, which is what it is. It talks a lot about overt and subconscious and institutionalized racism. It talks about that within sport. It works very well as a companion piece to Dear England, because Dear England talks primarily about the men's English football team and their management under Gareth Southgate, but it also acknowledges a lot of the racist sentiment within the nation, particularly in reaction to an England football loss. And that is covered extensively in Death of England as well. This is a lot more hard-hitting. This has far fewer moments of buoyancy. It's one of those really impressive extended monologue plays. I think the whole thing ran at about an hour and 40 minutes in the end. But he's roaming all around this space. He's pulling props from all these different locations. He is invoking and occasionally portraying different characters. And it is blistering. Like, it's really challenging stuff. And he is performing racism, and he's acknowledging racism, and he's talking about it and, like, reckoning with how much of that he has then taken on for himself, and reckoning with the values of his father and how much of that he agrees with, and this kind of revelation that his father was doing work to try and challenge his own opinions, but then beneath that there was also this lingering, like, very deep, hateful sentiment. It's very powerful, very challenging stuff. I don't know how it left me. I don't know whether it offered just sort of any sense of hope. I don't know whether I felt empowered or inspired to combat this, to acknowledge this, or to what. I don't know that it spoke very far beyond the confines of its own sort of, like, class and masculine specificity. This felt like a play about white English working class men for them as much as anything else. And so I'll be very intrigued to see how that potentially expands with the rest of the stuff that I am seeing today. But it is not a cheery day of theatre, and I knew this coming into it. This is intense back-to-back monologue plays. But yeah, I thought the sound design and the lighting design in particular really, really great. And it's interesting seeing this on the back of seeing so many shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, seeing a lot of monologue, one-person performances at the Edinburgh Fringe, as well as seeing a bunch of shows back-to-back in one day, because I feel like that has trained me well for this kind of theatrical experience. But also, a lot of them are really honed, because for the most part a lot of stuff at the Fringe runs at either an hour or just over an hour, and so they do a really good job in whittling it down to the most essential parts. And so I'm watching this thinking, do you merit those extra 40 minutes? Does it earn that kind of space? And that's the kind of thing that critics used to say in reviews, and I used to be like, how do you begin to judge that? And I think it's just, you see a lot of stuff and you talk about a lot of stuff and you react to and review a lot of stuff, and that then comes over time, because it was really interesting watching it and going how much value is there in the different sections of this? What is taking too long? What is necessary here? So I'm going to be very interested to talk about it. I'm going to cover each of them a little bit in this video. I'm also going to do a separate standalone single review video where I talk about each of the 3 plays. From a logistics perspective, I now have just under 2 hours before the next one. So the next one is at 4:30. Erin and my fiance, that is Erin, and our friend Sean, I think, are doing a 2-show day today. Last I heard, they didn't have tickets for a matinee, but they're seeing Mean Girls this evening. And I will say, the Death of England 3-show day is a little bit of an antisocial one, unless someone else is not seeing a show at all, or seeing the same shows as you, because I got out of that just after 2:30, which is presumably if they are seeing a matinee, when they will have just gone into another theatre. So I'm now walking around Soho Square, as you do. I don't think I'm hungry. I brought a refillable water bottle with me, and I didn't find anywhere in at Soho Place to fill it up. That's going to be one of our missions for the day, finding somewhere to fill up the refillable water bottle in at Soho Place, as well as remembering what the Wi-Fi password is, because I used to know it and there is no signal in that building, but the Wi-Fi is good if you have the password, but you have to ask someone for the password. So that's my other mission for the day. In the meantime, maybe I'm going to plan where I'll have dinner later. I don't know, 2 hours, am I going to be hungry? I'll probably be hungry in 2 hours. I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what? I put my camera away, and then I was like, I'm in London by myself. I have no one I'm going to see. I have no one else to talk to. I will talk to you, tiny people on my camera, and we're going to walk around the vicinity of where I currently am, and I'm going to give you a brief tour, and also maybe look for a small snack. I don't need lunch. I had an incredibly late breakfast. Actually, on the subject of how do you prepare for 3 shows back to back, I tend to think sleep more than I did, hydrate more than I did, but I did run a 5k park run this morning at 9 a.m. and subsequently could not sit down on the train because it was so unbelievably busy. I don't know what's happening in London today. It's the last Saturday of the summer holidays, so that's a whole thing, and it's fine weather, it's not raining, so that's good for the British summer. But I don't know why the trains were both so busy, but I'm looking forward to sitting down 3 times today, because by the time I got here I hadn't sat down, and I had run and I had stood on the train. So I think don't be bored of sitting by the time you're planning to sit all day. Stretch your legs where you can. I had a very late breakfast, so I'm not lunch hungry. Oh, it's that way. I've gone the wrong way. I'm not lunch hungry. There's a great sandwich place over here. I'm on Dean Street in Soho, hence the people. Gosh, I can't wait for September. I love tourists coming to London. I love the city of London. I love people enjoying it, and I love them supporting the theatre industry, and I love what tourism means for the theatre industry. But my goodness, is it busy in August? Is my favourite sandwich place in Soho closed? I'm hoping they're just not open today and not fully closed. It's a Saturday. Maybe they're closed for the summer. Maybe they're taking holiday. I have concerns. They're called Make Mine. Great food made to order. This is the closest to American sandwich sizes I have found in the UK. It's an entire meal. Just a little further down Dean Street, you will find the Soho Theatre, which is a brilliant hub of comedy and theatre and cabaret, and a very queer celebratory venue, which we love. And you will see many shows here, coming here on the back of the Edinburgh Fringe. For example, Reuben Kay, Live and Intimidating, is here between the 10th and the 21st of September on the back of his Edinburgh Fringe run. I'm also seeing on this list All What's Left of Us. That was at the Edinburgh Fringe. Ballroom Techno Makeout Jams. That was at the Fringe last year. We have My English Persian Kitchen. I saw that at the Fringe just a few weeks ago. Lots of comedians as well. Point being, if you don't yet know the Soho Theatre and your tastes are more fringy, anti-commercial, people are going up to people sat outside of restaurants and talking to them about something, so I'm going to cross the street because I'm not about whatever is going on here. I have 3 shows to see today. I am too busy to be pitched. Yeah, if you don't know about the Soho Theatre and you want to see good, original queer theatre, go to the Soho Theatre. The mood of London is captured in a chalk sign that I just walked past. It said, vintage pop-up and cocktails. Okay, down this street, Mead Street, is the only honest burger you will find in London that does not have a queue. This is the secret one that I'm spoiling now by telling you all about it. But I'm willing to bet you, doesn't have a queue. Doesn't have a queue. Still busy. It's the height of the summer, but it doesn't have a queue out the door, and I bet you every other one does today. Bear in mind I'm in Soho. I'm in the middle of central London, and the building I just walked past said Pitch Modern Golf Club. Just making a TikTok. Pitch Modern Golf Club practice space. Where and how? I have questions. Another food recommendation from me, Banana Tree. I love Banana Tree. They do great things. I love their chicken dish with the fruits. I miss the sticky rice. Bring back the sticky rice. Let's go all the way down to Shaftesbury Avenue and give you a proper update on the shows that you can find. This is the closest thing we have to Broadway in terms of one place where you'll find a bunch of theatres, because if you don't know, the West End is more spread out. But this is new. Honeymoon Dessert. Looks nice. So looking down Shaftesbury Avenue, we have traffic lights. Excuse me, we have Juno and the Paycock, soon to be beginning performances at the Gielgud Theatre with J. Smith Cameron and Mark Rylance. I know very little about that play. And then, of course, Les Miserables continues at the Sondheim Theatre. I'm standing next to the Apollo, where Fawlty Towers is playing here, and then Hadestown here at the Lyric. They have just gone in for their matinee. Down then to perhaps London's answer to Times Square. It is Piccadilly Circus. If you don't recognise it, then the more familiar view might be that one up there. The big old screen display, but it's where you'll find the Criterion Theatre, where the lovely new British musical Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York today plays its final day of performances here in the West End. I hope there is a future for this show. We're going to go and pay our respects. I'm not seeing either of its final performances because I'm seeing Death of England all day, but it's in my heart. I don't know what this is. It's garish. Goodbye, Sam Tutty. You were very good as Dougal. Goodbye, Dujon a Gift. You were very good as Robin. Oh, I loved this show. Once I was stood out here waiting to see Amelie. This was in the time of socially distanced theatre in the re-emergence from the pandemic. Middle of the afternoon, someone tried to sell me cocaine. I don't know why. Do I have that vibe about me? I don't think I have that vibe about me. He also did it by asking me if I wanted any Charlie, and I had to Google what that was. I was pretty sure, but I had to Google it, which was also mentioned in the play I just saw. And that usually that's how I get my knowledge about these things, is from dramatic works. Why I've chosen to walk myself this way when the world was my oyster this afternoon, I do not know, because Leicester Square in particular, one of my favourite parts of London, hate it when it's busy. During the school holidays, during half terms, absolutely not. I have changed my mind. We're going to head back up towards at Soho Place and its surrounding areas. I'm trying to work out what I want to eat now on the basis of what I want to eat later between Delroy and Closing Time, which is the name of the third part. I just want a little snack now, just a little something. I don't want my stomach to rumble in a 100-minute piece of fairly quiet theatre in the round where occasionally we are lit as an audience. I feel like that's embarrassing. If I hold my microphone to the wall, tell me if you can hear Les Mis. Oh, I almost heard something. I was about to do a comedy bit where I was like, not even a little bit, but hold on. Do we need to linger here? Okay. This isn't helpful. Couldn't hear Les Mis. Peep the wall, peep the iconic wall, currently slightly blocked by construction. Couldn't hear Les Mis, but I did briefly connect to the Wi-Fi. That's a win. Now, Soho is very much the gay district of London, if you couldn't tell that, from the numerous pride flags, the adult stores, and the multiple gay clubs. And you will have noticed it just walking past a bar where one man said to another, "You're terrible, Muriel." Culture endures. I was about to roast this business by saying they make the little Portuguese desserts and I don't understand the financial viability of just making one kind of dessert, but they have closed, so I feel like that speaks for itself. This is a nice vegan place. I am not a vegan, but I have gone here and I like their non-chicken chicken nuggets. They're very nice. I lied. This is the Portuguese dessert place. I don't know what that store was, but this one lives on. It's very busy inside. Evidently that is a market that I am not an expert on, which is why I am Mickey Joe Theatre and not Mickey Joe Desserts. I would love to be Mickey Joe Desserts, not as an expert, just as an enthusiast. Conversely, I just saw a business down a side street over there called Prosecco Cafe. That got my attention. This is the Prince Edward Theatre, one of my favourite theatres in the West End. I always think the exterior is a little familiar of a couple of Broadway houses, like the Walter Kerr, like the St James with that sort of balcony structure, and the windows with the shutters up there. They look a little bit like the August Wilson. This is an LED screen display, and this used to be an LED screen. Thank goodness they have replaced it with a non-LED version to save on lighting and also on my eyes, because my god, that was bright. Maybe I'm gonna get chicken later. I was trying to have a healthy day because I have not had a healthy week. If you watched my last vlog in the West Country, that was only a few days ago, and eating an entire slab of fudge on the train journey back, not among my finest choices. It was delicious. I would do it again. I will do it again someday, when next time in Bath. I do it every time. But I'm feeling the consequences of that choice, and so I was trying to not do that today. But I've had protein Weetabix for breakfast, and if I have a very small lunch because I'm not really feeling hungry now, maybe I can have slim chickens for dinner. Maybe. Speaking both of dining locations and of things that are closing today, I am not talking about a show, but a premises. This is the beloved Theatre Cafe Diner. Used to be the Theatre Cafe, then they also opened the Theatre Cafe Diner. Sadly, due to construction work needing to happen on the building, it's going to be closing today for the foreseeable future. They hope to reopen at another venue. But if you didn't know, this is sort of equivalent to Ellen Stardust Diner in New York, where they have performing waiters of West End standard. One of their waiters from a few months ago has recently opened as the lead in Why Am I So Single, the brilliant Lisa Tully. Loves you, Theatre Cafe Diner. Hope to see you again soon. Just under an hour until the next show, heading back up broadly in the direction of At Soho Place, passing the Phoenix Theatre, where Stranger Things The First Shadow is currently playing. Let me show you. I have only just noticed, a family are walking up in the middle of a performance. Let me show you what I noticed the other day while I was filming a reel outside here. There's a creepy silhouette in the top window. Look at that! Terrifying. And adjacent to the Phoenix Theatre, you will find the Phoenix Arts Club, who have this very funny sign nodding to the Stranger Things of it all. But this is a little late-night bar cabaret space, an institution within the West End, and it's also where I'm performing my solo show. Am I on the wall? Oh, I am! I'm on the wall 3 times. There you go. Mickey Joe Theatre Live. You can find me here with the West End performer guests to be announced on the 22nd of September, the 20th of October, which is also Musical Con weekend, and we can't see that bottom one there. I think it's the 17th of November. There you go. I should definitely know that. Across the road is Foyle's bookstore. We're going to go in and we're going to see if they have a theatre section, because I genuinely have no idea, and I feel like they should. And we don't have any good independent theatre bookstores that I'm aware of in the UK, like the Drama Bookshop in New York. We have the National Theatre Bookshop as part of the National Theatre. There's also a bookstore in, I think, the Bush Theatre, and definitely at the Royal Court. But I'm curious if Foyle's giant bookstore here in the heart of the West End has a theatre section, and if it's more than just like Shakespeare and Alan Bennett, you know? Store directory. I'm seeing London guides, LGBTQ+, trains, teaching resources, theology, true crime, all good things. Drama on floor 2. As in, that's where you'll find the drama section, not that there is drama. I mean, I've not got there yet. Perhaps there is drama unfolding right now on floor 2. But that's what it's called. That's what the section's called, which I should have thought of, in fairness, having just mentioned the Drama Bookshop. There's also a cafe in here, which is quite lovely. We do have a play section. We have a really extensive play section, and we also have this here in production. Love this. And on the top row, look at that. It's Death of England. That is part 1. That is part 2. And that is part 3, showing the original performers at the National Theatre on the covers, and not the ones from today's performances. We also have Farm Hall, which has just opened at the Theatre Royal Haymarket, Slave Play, which is over at the Noel Coward, Cathy and Stella Solve a Murder, which I think is finishing its limited run next weekend at the Ambassadors, Hadestown, of course, The Hot Wing King, the Pulitzer Prize winner currently at the National Theatre, and The Mousetrap, which is going to live forever. Also, not that we don't have a lot of other things, but we do of course have Alan Bennett. Well, to their credit, Foyle's have a lovely little drama section on their second floor. Pretty much as soon as you get to the second floor, just on your left. I didn't even know if I could buy the Death of England play scripts at Death of England today. I did not see them selling them anywhere, although it's worth saying I only spent a very brief few minutes in the exterior of the auditorium before I went in and found my seat, which it is almost time to do again for part 2 for Delroy. Now, Michael in part 1 talks a lot about Delroy, who is the son of Jamaican immigrants who voted for Brexit, and it's going to be very interesting to see, I don't know if it's the same story, I don't know if it's subsequent, but from his perspective. It's going to be very interesting to now hear from Delroy. Another show playing its final performances today, Sister Act, the Divine musical comedy at the Dominion Theatre. And they've got this scaffolding up that has not been there for much of the show's run. That is because they are getting ready to ditch the LED screen that was there before, and they're going to have something much more exciting on the Dominion front of house for the arrival of Devil Wears Prada, which is officially opening in December of this year. If that seems like a long way away, it's because Rocky Horror is briefly going there for, I think, just for a couple of weeks this month, actually, first. And then they're going to be getting ready for Devil Wears Prada, which has already done an out-of-town tryout down in Plymouth, down in the southwest, which is not something that happens as often in UK theatre as it does in US theatre. So that's interesting and exciting. Certainly it must have been very exciting for the people of Plymouth to have the Devil Wears Prada new production, having a little tryout down there. Vanessa Williams walking the streets, giving it Miranda Priestley, making TikToks. If you're wondering where I'm going, we are searching for the little snack I have spoken much of. It is not a cinnamon social slice at Olenstein, much as I would love for it to be, because we're trying to make healthier choices. Instead, we are going to head over to Lyon. They used to have one opposite, I can't remember if it was opposite the Sondheim or opposite the Apollo. There used to be one on Shaftesbury Avenue. It closed, sadly. And I'm just going to get a little tub of char-grilled chicken. I just need something. It's very windy all of a sudden, but I picked up my chicken. I remembered to get a fork. It's a good day. Paprika chicken meze, $3.99. It's good. And we are back at Soho Place for the next play of the day, Death of England Michael. No, we've done that one. Oh dear, Death of England, Delroy. That's the one. I was so enamoured with my own name. There you go. I'm going to stop calling it part 2 until I can confirm to you whether or not there is any sense of order. It was the second to be published. It was the second to be produced. It was the second when they started performing them in this repertory series. It was the second to commence. Is it second? I imagine it might be, but until such time as I find out, I'm not willing to say. I'm about to go inside, but I'm wondering if I will see many familiar faces from earlier this afternoon. How many other people are doing all 3 today? You may think everyone, but it's not like Angels in America, it's not like The Inheritance, it's not like Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It's not clear that you need to do all 3 necessarily, and the people sat to the left of me were remarking about how it would be interesting to see all 3, but that they weren't. So I'm intrigued to see how many people are new to this. I mean, I didn't pay enough attention to the audience to really give you a thorough, and I didn't survey them afterwards. Perhaps I should, but I'll tell you if I recognise anyone. I'm here again, that much we know. Currently hanging out by door B of the stalls level, where I am again for the next show. People watching as people arrive. I got some tap water from the first floor bar because I still can't find, I'm failing in my side quest to find a place to refill my water bottle, and I'm trying to be one of those people who responsibly brings a refillable water bottle with them, but what is the point if the world does not provide me water for my bottle? These are the questions. And here we are, back in the same spot. Do you think I'm on the same side or a different side? Can you tell? Can you tell? If you said the same side, you'd be absolutely correct. In fact, I am basically 1 row in front of exactly the same seat I was in before, so I'm edging slightly closer to the stage. If this had more different parts to it, I would eventually be in the thing. But this is the same set design here, with different items placed around the exterior. So I didn't show you these last time because I only just noticed as it was beginning. But on the first sort of row of the circle there, on the lighting sconces, you can see different prop items. I don't think there are quite as many in this as in the last one, but I see some beer glasses, I see a backpack, I see a large Egyptian bust head, which is familiar of an artifact that was used in the first piece, and there's also graffiti drawn onto the playing space. I don't remember that from part 1, I think that might be new for part 2, and as I tell you, I'm actually noticing more and more of it. Very intrigued about the direction this is going to take. But we are back with the nice legroom, with water. I was tempted to drink it all before I came in, but that's not good for my bladder in a 100-minute play. So we're going to do our best here at Death of England. This discernibly seems to be more sold than the first performance today. So that's good. Trying not to get anyone else in this shot. I've just asked, so you don't have to, the Wi-Fi password for at Soho Place, and I don't think they'd mind me telling you, because you can't use it unless you're like in the building, at which point you're a customer or a visitor of some kind. The Wi-Fi password, and perhaps I should have thought of this, is Soho Place, with a capital S and a capital P, but all one word. You are welcome. That is for the network Soho Place Public. So that's useful to know. This next part stars Papa Estudiou as Delroy, remembered for his breakthrough performance in Hamlet with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and recently seen in The Effect at the National Theatre. And I don't think I have ever had the pleasure of seeing him on stage before, so I'm very excited. Likewise, I think this was my first time seeing Thomas Coombs, who starred in part 1 as Michael. He's been seen on television in Baby Reindeer, recently in The Acolyte, and has many, many credits as shown here, none of which I think I saw. That was good. That was really good. Loved that. And did not necessarily have that reaction after part 1. Now, part 1 was a play I had seen before, and I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first time. I was neither as endeared to it nor as shocked by it as the first time around, and I think if it felt topical then, it felt a little, not dated now, but just like it could have more pertinent conversations. Hold on, I will continue talking to you after the sirens gone past. I will articulate more of this, or I will attempt to articulate more of this in my review of all 3 parts, which will be in a different video. But yeah, part 2 did a lot of what I wanted part 1 to be, and my god, that performance, that's got to be one of the best, most charismatic, most powerful, just most thrilling solo performances I have ever seen on stage. What a talent. The way the audience was utilised, the rapport that was cultivated between performer and audience in the second part, very different to the first part. It had very different aims, it had very different scope. It was interesting that they were such different plays. It didn't just feel like, and now here's my version of the same story, for that to have been from the same writer as part of the same, like, overall world. Fascinating that it took such a different approach, but it was in such a different voice, which I guess is very important when, like, telling these stories from different viewpoints. And it was like months down the line after the first one, it referenced events from the first one, and it makes sense to watch them in that order, 1 and then 2. Like, if you're planning to watch both, don't watch Delroy then Michael, watch Michael then Delroy. However, I don't think you have to watch Michael before you watch Delroy if you're not planning on it. And I would recommend, like, everyone should go watch Delroy, because that was a really fantastic piece of theatre. It excited me as much as the Michael part excited me like 3 or 4 years ago. In the immediate future, I'm thinking about food, and I might get Slim Chickens.
The worst part is...
Fried chicken is something I love, and I don't get very often because they're often not gluten-free inclusive, which means Aaron can't eat with me, which is never good. So I could do this, I could go... I don't think I want to go all the way down to Jollibee, although that is my fave. I could go back to Shake Shack because that's near at Soho Place. There's a Wingstop here as well. I don't know. And in fact, that is exactly what I did. I got a 5-tender meal from Slim Chickens. I liked that it comes with a little bit of bread. I got some Korean barbecue sauce. I got some honey mustard sauce. This is a good meal for Mickey Joe. I am happy about this. It's not the healthiest choice, but I need sustenance. I'm seeing 3 dramatic works today. That requires calories. Also, some of those, like, make your own fountain drinks, and I went for a cherry Fanta, and it looks like this, and I'm going to keep you posted as to whether that does have a cherry flavour, because it doesn't look like it does, but I'm prepared to be surprised. Slim Chickens was a win. I haven't had it in ages. I'd forgotten how good it was. The chicken tenders, like, in terms of if you're looking for crispiness, there are other places you can go to. You could go to Popeyes, I think, is probably the king when it comes to crispiness. Or also just like what you'll get at your McDonald's Chicken Selects, KFC kind of a situation. But honestly, we can do better. And you're getting better chicken at Slim Chickens than any of those just mentioned. Not Popeyes necessarily. Popeyes is real good. Enjoyed the honey mustard more than the Korean barbecue, for what it's worth. I only know how to interpret things by way of review. So that is what we're doing here in telling you about the dinner I have had. And also touring around some more West End theatres. As I walk, we're just passing between the Ambassadors, where Kathy and Stella have been solving a murder all summer, in Kathy and Stella Solve a Murder, and the St. Martin's, where the Mousetrap will play until the end of time. It will continue on past the apocalypse with a cast of cockroaches. What else was I going to say? I enjoyed the bread. It was kind of garlicky, and I liked it. The fries, really good. Who knew Slim Chickens did such good fries? We must discuss this. Better than a lot of other places' fries. And the Fanta had a cherry. I tasted the cherry, but it was orange Fanta with a cherry component rather than cherry Fanta, which is what I thought was happening. And that is not, in fact, what was happening. Let's go look at Matilda. Let's go talk to Matilda. They announced their new cast not too long ago. I don't know if the new cast have started yet. I don't think so. I have in my head that Matilda does a cast change in September, so perhaps soon. One of the various useless pieces of information that lives in my brain, and is perhaps not even correct, it's worth saying. I'm having a nice day by this point. I wasn't sure after the first one. It did not leave me either sufficiently inspired, nor just feeling particularly positive, if I'm being completely honest. And this is the thing with State of the Nation plays, when your nation is in a state, and, you know, neither went to all the places I wanted to, nor galvanized me to feel hopeful or productive or anything that I want topical and political theatre to do. Passing Matilda while discussing Death of England. Let's go around here and look at some... This is still pictures of the old cast. That's not to say the new ones haven't started yet. I don't think I can see a cast board from the street. I don't know that either of the plays I've seen so far have sufficiently talked about class mobility and class politics as much as I would like them to. We have talked about race, we have talked about racism, and we've talked about a lot of other tangential factors. Did they just get engaged? Oh, I think they just got engaged. I wonder if I got that on film over my shoulder. Happy for them. Where was I? Class mobility. Yeah, I think that's one of the most sizable factors we haven't talked about yet. It's also been very male-driven, very male-led, and in the next one that is going to change. Next part is part 3, Death of England, Closing Time, which is a two-hander with 2 women. And I had been assuming that they were both the sisters of Michael and Delroy, but now I'm wondering if it's another character we haven't met. I know that it is Michael's sister is one of the characters. I'm wondering if the other character is one we haven't met yet, or if it's Delroy's mum and I just hadn't realised. But I will find out in the final part. I'm comfortable at this point now calling it the final part because I do get the sense that they are in order. I was just checking my booking confirmation to see if I was definitely right about it being at 8 p.m. because it's just gone 7 and I get stressed, and New York and the Edinburgh Fringe have both taught me to double check timings when you're somewhere where the timings move around a lot, but it's definitely at 8 p.m. so in just under an hour I will see the third and final play of the day, and I am in fact in exactly the same seat I was in first thing, so I'm moving back a row again. And I'm wondering, is that their preferred place for people to see the show from? Because this booking, all these bookings were made through the press team. Is that how they want people to see the show? Is that the best place to sit? I don't know. Is it just that that was the easiest place to put me, and it was neater for them to put me in a similar place for all 3? I don't know. Very grateful, by the way, to the press team for accommodating me, because the first 2 shows had press performances back in July, I think, or maybe right at the beginning of August. My brain was in an Edinburgh Fringe place and I wasn't free, and I wanted to wait and see them all on one day. I wanted to do the marathon. I love a marathon, whether it's films, whether it's theatre. I love the idea of doing it back to back, and like experiencing it the most immersive, locked-in way that I can. I thought that was a fun idea, and they were very receptive to the funness of that idea, and I appreciate that very much, because I feel like if I'd emailed with that question 2 years ago, even a year ago, I don't know that I would have got a yes to that. So that's cool. That's very cool, and I appreciate that. I'm walking towards the Gillian Lynn now. I'm going to show you The Wizard of Oz, which is playing a limited, just like 6-week, I think, summer run, 15th of August to the 8th of September. Not even 6 weeks, like less than 4. But they are doing many performances a week. So plenty of opportunities to catch The Wizard of Oz here at the Gillian Lynn. Here she is. It's the cast of The Wizard of Oz. There's the Vivian as the Wicked Witch of the West there on the right, looking fabulous and green. Lovely blue artwork on the outside of the building. They have good merch for this show. I know for a fact they're selling good merch up there. I got a bunch of the merch before. Oh, the security are looking at me with concern. I'm just vlogging, friends. Nobody panic. I truly do not need to give LW Theatres another reason to put me on a watch list, so I'm going to walk away now and head back to At Soho Place, which is fine because that's a NIMAX theatre. I have just received intel that Aaron James and Sean Tissell are seeing, I was going to say Legally Blonde. I keep calling it Legally Blonde because it's pink and it's at the Savoy. And I know it's not Legally Blonde, they're at Mean Girls. They're at Mean Girls, and I've just received intel that they're there already. I knew they were going to Mean Girls because I got them Today Takes Rush tickets this morning with my fastest fingers in the West End. Pew, 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 pew. Anyway, they're at Mean Girls, and I believe Aaron James is making a vlog and that will have come out already by the time I'm releasing this. But if you didn't know, Aaron James has also recommenced filming theatre vlogs on his channel. So if you like watching people going to the theatre and going to see shows and talking about it and showing merchandise and what they ate and what they drank and the curtain call and everything else we can think to film around that experience, then go check out his recent videos and go subscribe to his channel as well. That would be a big support, and that would help us to be able to do more of this kind of stuff. And if you, while I'm here, if you have any other ideas for vlog content you would like to see, aside from me just doing like random weeks in London, which I've thought about bringing back, but I like for these videos to have some kind of a purpose and some kind of a meaning and a theme. Oh, nearly walked into that man. In fact, no, that man nearly walked into me. I was looking. If there is something you think I should vlog, if you have a fun idea about like a fun 2-show day or like a way to do 3 shows at 3 different theatres. I was thinking this earlier with like a 1-act matinee. You could probably go see Shifters in the West End right now, then walk up the road to at Soho Place, go see Death of England Delroy, and then go see an evening show. And there's a couple things down from Fringe that are doing funny times that are only an hour long. You can probably see like 4 shows back to back next month in London. I should tell people about this. But yes, comment down below was the end of that sentence. I'm chatty today, aren't I? Sorry. Something is not right with the traffic lights at High Holborn near the Shaftesbury Theatre. This is a wildly specific PSA, but if that helps you, then, you know. Also, take care walking around, carrying phones, carrying cameras. This is not a happy thing to have to say, but many reports of phones being stolen out of people's hands, out of people's pockets by bicyclists. Just proceed with caution. And I know I'm walking around with a vlogging camera. It's quite tiny, and I'm also gripping it like nobody's business, and I am using a wrist strap. So, I mean, they could steal this. If they want to steal this out of my hands, then we can just listen to them as they carry it away, I guess. Just passing Mrs. Doubtfire the musical at the Shaftesbury. Not the most exciting show in town, but one I would go back to. I would give this show another visit. I haven't seen it since it opened, and it's charming. And now that I know where my expectations are, I think I'd have a lovely time returning to Mrs. Doubtfire, actually. And certainly it offers a lot to family audiences. It's a show that dads can get on board with, which instantly means it does very well financially. If you can get the dads to go see a show in the West End, you can get everyone there. Since we're on the subject of seeing multiple shows in one day, just over there by the Shaftesbury Theatre is, I think it's a Domino's, which is the meal I had on one of my first ever 2-show days in London. I'd have been like 16. I can't remember what I was seeing. I have no idea why. It wasn't at the Gillian Inn or the Shaftesbury, so I don't know why I was up here, but I know that I was nervous about having enough time to eat, so I pre-ordered Domino's like in the morning to pick up from there, because that was the best idea I could come up with. And I was like, I don't think I had to pre-order. I don't think I had to pre-order the Domino's, and B, there were other things I could have eaten than a Domino's. What was I seeing? My first ever 2-show day. I don't know if it was like Betty Blue Eyes and something else. I don't know. We're talking 2011, 2012. I was a child. Well, we have walked around, which I think is important to stretch your legs and, you know, change of scenery on a day that could get samey, but we are back where we started at Soho Place for part 3, closing time. Death of England from the National Theatre in the West End at Soho Place, going back to the same seat that I began the day in to see another play on the same set, but it's all good. I do think the Edinburgh Fringe, and specifically the day I spent in the Roundabout at Summerhall, was great training for this, because I saw 9 shows back to back in the same tent with 15-minute gaps, so 3 back to back with like 2 hours in between is Cake. Not to be confused with Cake, which is a show that will shortly be opening at the other Palace. Also, on the subject of audience surveys, which I did not do, some very intriguing findings from the last show. I immediately, in the bathroom, noticed someone who I had seen in the first show, and in fact he was sat in the same seat for part 1 and part 2. He had a front row seat for both parts. I assume I'll see him again for part 3, but I don't know. And in part 2, I was chatting to someone who had seen parts 1 and parts 3 previous to part 2, like on previous days. And I was surprised at how many people were individual theatregoers. That is to say, people alone by themselves coming to the theatre. I had a conversation earlier this week with someone who said, like, obviously if they wanted to see something in the theatre, they would have to find someone to go with them. And I was like, I was thinking, I didn't say this, but I was like, you could go by yourself, because you can go by yourself to the theatre. I've been doing that since, like I said, since I was 16. Interesting to see so many people doing that at Soho Place for Death of England. I'm going to go inside now and go see the last bit. And we are back once again in the stalls, in the auditorium of At Soho Place, in the same spot that I began the day 2 plays ago. We have fewer stuff mounted on the walls this time. We have piles of stuff there and also over there, but I don't see any. Oh no, there is. There is. Is that a trophy? What's your story? What are you going to do? What are you going to be? I'm intrigued. But I'm ready for part 3, the final part of Death of England, closing time. Now, this production again stars 2 performers I have not seen previously on stage. I've seen them both on Netflix in The Crown and Sex Education, respectively. Also worth noting, Sharon Duncan Brewster appeared in the first production of Death of England, closing time back at the National Theatre, its premiere production at short notice, script in hand, saving the show back in 2023. And they have both separately been in different productions of Sarah Kane's Crave. Fun fact for you there. Well, goodbye to At Soho Place and the day we have spent here. What a day! What a day! Seeing 3 back-to-back plays by Clint Dyer and Roy Williams. Those are the co-writers. By the way, I've not been mentioning that all day. Good job, Mickey Joe. Death of England, 3 parts. Interesting how different the third part, closing time, was to Michael and Delroy. In part because it was a 2-hander versus 1, and that changed it both structurally and in other ways just very different rules of engagement. It felt like quite a different play. I'm not sure it felt quite as vital as the other 2. I don't know if it works as a standalone piece rather than as a companion to the other 2, and I don't know that it felt like necessarily an adequate conclusion either. It felt just like yet another story, but now I feel like I need a part 4. I need some sort of a culmination with 4 people on stage. But yeah, that's me requiring closure, I guess. I will probably talk a little bit more about some of those either when I get to the next train station or potentially when I get home. But I've had a great day seeing plays, seeing thought-provoking plays, and being part of really like receptive and engaged audiences has been a treat. That's been lovely. Closing time is relatively newer compared to the others. I only started performances about a week ago, and they're now all running in rep until the end of September, and it's on Saturdays between now and the end of September, including next Saturday on my birthday, which is possibly when you're watching this actually, that you can see all 3 in a row like I did. So if you want to do that for yourselves, you can do it on Saturdays in September. Get them before they close, people. For now, I'm going to get myself home, and I will maybe speak to you soon. Hello, everybody. I have returned home. This is me continuing to talk to you, although I'm not sure what I haven't said. I had a great day seeing 3 back-to-back plays, one of which I'd seen before. I enjoyed. I will be reviewing all of them here on YouTube. I can recommend going and doing the 3-part Death of England day. I think certainly for parts 1 and 3, especially for part 3, they're really heightened by doing them all back-to-back. I don't know how satisfying closing time would be by itself as a theatrical experience, but if you only want to see one of them, you could see Michael by itself. You could and should see Delroy by itself. That I think was very much the strongest for me, especially because of Papa Estudu's performance. So good. My goodness. But yeah, lots to enjoy about the day. Had a great time doing a little solo theatre trip. Thank you to the show for letting me come and do that. Comment down below with any other fun theatre things you want to see me get up to in London, any other questions that you might have about Death of England, about At Soho Place, about seeing multiple shows in one day. Hit me with them and I will do my best to answer you, but I hope that you have enjoyed. Stay tuned for more ad hoc vlog content coming very soon. Make sure you are subscribed with those notifications turned on, and I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have, say it with me, a stagey day. For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!